Test, testing sound, test. Test, testing sound, June 14th, testing the meeting sound, test.
Live now, so go ahead.
Okay, thanks all. As we're live, we'll get started. It's my pleasure to be your chair for this afternoon's meeting. Good afternoon, and I'd like to now call the Hamilton-Oshawa Port Authority and the City of Hamilton Liaison Committee meeting to order. Members of the public are advised that our meetings are webcast live, the City of Hamilton, and archived on the city's website, and that the presentations and reports considered at this meeting are available on the city's website, and that members of the public can contact the clerk's office to acquire documents in an alternate format. A reminder to all that electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during committee meetings. And members of the committee are reminded of the 5-minute time limit, which will be adhered to during this meeting. Members can submit another request to speak if they require more time to ask questions or make comments. Can we begin then with roll call? Members of the committee, please use your talk hand sign if you need to speak between items, and raise a hand to move or second an item. Madam Clerk?
And all the members are here except for Councillor Pauls, who is away on city business. We have Mayor Eisenberger, Councillor Partridge is in the room. We have Councillor Powers, Ian Hamilton, Jim Howlett, and Ann Waldez.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, Madam Chair, there are no changes to the agenda.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll move.
Thank you, Jim. And seconded by Councillor Powers. Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, carried. Moving on to declarations of interest. Are there any? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes of our previous meeting, April 11th, 2022. And can I have a motion to approve the minutes, please, of April 11th, 2022?
So moved.
Mr. Mayor, thank you, Councillor Partridge. Seconded, Mr. Mayor? Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, carried. Moving on to discussion items. 10.1, committee terms of reference review. On the April 11th agenda for review and discussion at the June meeting. Is there any discussion on the terms of reference? Yes, Councillor Powers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On page 8 of 8, under composition, it indicates that the change says the mayor and 3 members of City Council, that totaling 4, Hamilton-Oshawa Port Authority Chair, and 3 members from the board or senior staff. Could you just get an explanation to me as to why it would indicate senior staff and not totally commissioners, please?
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Powers. Ian, were you involved in that meeting?
Yeah, yeah. I think that we feel that the way that the governance board is set up at the Hamilton-Oshawa Port Authority, that having the senior staff as part of, or at least a complement of the senior staff as part of the committee makes total sense, because that's where the sort of the history of the files sits.
Thank you, Ian. Councillor Powers, does that answer your question?
Yeah, nothing further. I mean, if it satisfies the desires of the Hamilton-Oshawa Port Authority, I have no objections to it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, let me just first start off with just reflecting on the important relationship between the Port Authority and the city. It's been particularly good post 2000, and the ongoing working relationship is critically important. And so having a kind of a reasonable but clear kind of mandate for our committee to kind of ponder on mutual interests, I think is important. And certainly having it updated from what it was, which I think dates back to 2000 or thereabouts, that's certainly worthwhile. But under the understanding that obviously every term of council may want to update the terms of reference as well. But for the moment, I think this is going to suffice very nicely. And the joint desire to have a complementary port that has the interests of the city and the port in mind, and kind of both spheres, and avoiding litigation at all costs whenever possible has been the mantra up until now, and I'm hopeful that will continue. So I like terms of reference. I anticipate that in the new term, whoever the mayor and council is going to be will have a thought to having a look at whether it fits for the next 4 years. But for now, I think it works very nicely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any further comments? Are there any changes to the terms of reference?
Sorry, Anne, can you see me?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm waving my hand madly.
Nope, I couldn't, sorry.
And
You're
so
way
if
down at the other end of the table.
If I can interrupt, it's the Tamara Bates from Clerks. We are putting the speakers list in the chat, so we'll need to pay attention to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So, Madam Chair, thank you. When I was chairing the last meeting that was held in April, it seems to me that Ian had something that he wanted revised in the terms of reference, and I'm not sure if that has been done. But I'm just wondering if I could have a comment from Ian on the terms of reference from his position. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Partridge.
Yeah, it was addressed. It was really, we have a, I think it would be important for this committee to set the tone, similar to what Mayor Eisenberger has just done, and that oversees the approach to all of the different relationships that we have, and different contracts, and various different obligations we have to each other. And that was captured in the last point. Maybe Jeanette can help me if she's got it right in front of her, just to read out that point.
Thank you. Through the chair. Yes, Ian and I had quite a lengthy discussion and some variations back and forth between the terms of reference. And we landed on the last bullet around establish principles to guide any new agreements or MOUs between the two parties. So that if there was a need for a new MOU or agreement, this liaison committee would be instrumental in kind of setting those principles at a high level. Then we would go away as staff to kind of put pen to paper on what that draft would look like based on those principles.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, and I want to thank the mayor as well for his comments. And as you referenced, to set the tone, the Hamilton-Oshawa Port Authority is just so incredibly important to the city of Hamilton, and indeed to position our city for the future going forward as a major port on the Great Lakes, and even into the Seaway and out to Halifax. So I very much appreciate the good work of city staff and Port Authority staff and respective committee members here. It's very encouraging, and I hope going forward, whoever the new council and may be, that they look upon this liaison committee and the work that's being done with both organizations to recognize the importance of it going forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Partridge. Mr. Mayor?
Just move the revised terms of reference as presented.
Okay. Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Jim. Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, the change of reference is carried.
Thank you. Can I just clarify who the seconder was?
Jim Howlett?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so moving on to City and Port Authority shared goals and priorities, transportation section partnership opportunities. Is there any discussion around this item?
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I thought in the last meeting that there was going to be some sort of a presentation or an overview of exactly, the partnership working with our economic development and the Port Authority. And I'm just wondering through you to staff if there's something that we could have on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Norm, do you
And-
have a comment on that?
Yes, and through the chair, to Councillor Partridge, yes. So I'm here today to provide a verbal update. The direction was to provide a verbal update on not just the partnership between the port, but as well as the partnership within the transportation sector within the city of Hamilton and what other opportunities there might be and what other institutions there are. So I've got a brief, probably 3 or 4 minute update to provide you with just to speak to the importance of the port and goods movement within the city of Hamilton. As council is very much aware that the movement of goods and people has been identified as a key priority with our recently approved 2021-2025 Economic Development Action Plan. And within our economic development division itself, we actually have one individual, Sue Remack, a business development consultant who leads all goods movement sector related initiatives. And she has well-established relationships, as do most of the senior management within the economic development division with all goods movement partners, including the port and the airport, CN, CP Rail, and we attend regular meetings as well with all these institutions, and we have also great connections with other non-traditional institutions such as the Hamilton Transportation Club and the Ontario Trucking Association. So we're members of both those associations. So we try our best to keep up on what are the pressing issues that are impacting the transportation sector. We work collaboratively with all the transportation partners on business retention and expansion and related inquiries, as well as new business opportunities coming into the city. Most recently, just about a month ago, Ian and his team provided a presentation and a tour to an international business inquiry that came through our office. This is a regular occurrence. We basically, when we're pitching businesses to come to the city, we talk about the importance of our goods movement infrastructure, and that we're one of the only municipalities within the province that has all 4 major modes of transportation within its municipal borders. And counter to that, the Port Authority also utilizes the information that we have in terms of what are the benefits of doing business in the city. So there's a great working relationship that we have moving with the port as we look to attract, retain, and expand businesses here in the city. There are also several other institutions within the city that are very much leaders nationally and provincially within the goods movement sector. The McMaster Institute for Transportation and Logistics. I think Ian did mention that at the last meeting that HOPA and MITL have formed a partnership to create something called Fluid Intelligence, which is a data analyst resource that creates insight and solutions for goods movement. Another notable group that probably not a lot of folks know too much about is the Center for Integrated Transportation and Mobility. This group recruits, develops, and supports startups and small and medium-sized enterprises that seek to develop technology, products, and solutions in the connected and autonomous transportation and mobility sector. And this is actually through the AVEN network, the Autonomous Vehicles Innovation Network, and it's located within MIP, within Innovation Factory. So this is also an institution that we support financially on an annual basis as well. So two quick last points that I'd like to talk about. The city does have a formal partnership with Niagara Region called our Invest Hamilton Niagara Partnership, where we work collaboratively on international investment and trade with the Niagara Region. And now that the port that HOPA has gone into Niagara Region, there is a great opportunity for us to explore this even further in terms of how we can have further collaboration opportunities that could actually be both a benefit to Hamilton and Niagara. And I know that there's a meeting being set up as we speak with the CAOs of Niagara Region, Jeanette, myself, my counterpart in Niagara Region, as well as the Port Authority to talk and further explore those opportunities. And just lastly, and perhaps the biggest partnership opportunity that we're going to be coming and seeing in the next little while, that's going to reflect all transportation partners, is that we will be commissioning a new goods movement strategy for the city. Now that we have our truck route master plan under in the books and approved, we're now going to be moving forward on that study, which is going to be, how do we position ourselves as a goods movement, even stronger as a goods movement hub, and what's that strategy and direction moving forward. And with that, Madam Chair, that's my verbal update.
Thank you very much. That's a great update. Excellent. Anyone else care to comment?
If I could, I just wanted to say thank you very much to Norm for that excellent presentation. And just a couple of questions. Very pleased to hear about Niagara. And for the benefit of those who are watching, most of us around this table, virtually and in person, understand the work that is being done, but I think it's very, very beneficial for us to tout, if you will, the achievements of both the Port Authority and the city. Good to hear about the goods movement study being done as well. My question through you, Madam Chair, with regards to the truck route master plan it's been completed, is it still open with a 30-day appeal period? Is that, or for comments, not appeal, but for comments to come in through you to Norm?
Through the chair and to the councillor, I believe that appeal period is still open, or it's just on the verge of being closed. I don't have the exact date in front of me.
Yeah, thank you for yeah, because that was my understanding as well, that that we're well within the 30 days, if not coming to a close on that. Great news story. We should promote it, sing it from the mountaintops far and wide. So I thank you, Madam Chair, and I thank staff very much.
Thank you, Councillor Partridge. Mr. Mayor, you have a comment?
I do, maybe a question as well. And given the advent of high gas prices, shipping is going to be ever more important, given the efficiencies of that. So maybe I could ask the blurry Ian Hamilton what some of your plans are in terms of capitalizing on the current kind of momentum on this issue. I know short sea shipping was something that certainly was contemplated in the past, and I think there's some movement towards that again. And then how does Niagara kind of fit into the kind of future plans for the expanding Port Authority, which I think is brilliant, by the way. I mean, Welland and Niagara are opportune places to continue to provide port capacity. So I think it's a great move to kind of broaden that out. So on those two areas, can you share some information around kind of future plans and how you might capitalize on the high cost of gasoline and trucking, which is obviously taking a pretty big hit, and how ports might capitalize on that going into the future?
Great, thanks for the question. So starting with the short sea shipping, yes, just a bit of background. Each one of the larger ships on the Great Lakes can take almost 1,000 trucks off the road, and runs with with an environmental profile about 10% of that if everything moved by truck. So there's a real opportunity to take advantage of this situation. There's a driver shortage today, so there's many stars are lining up that haven't previously existed. So we did do a trial last year with short sea shipping and with some containers between Hamilton and Montreal. We have two challenges this year. The first one is we need to get CBSA approval for Hamilton to become a container hub, and we're working on that now, but it's taking a long time because right now CBSA doesn't have any container hubs on the water in the Great Lakes, and so they don't actually have any staffing to sort that out. So that's taking a while, but I think we will get there. The other piece is we need to make some infrastructure investments, and those investments would be around developing a terminal more dedicated to consumer goods and containers than we have today. And there is an NTCF application working through its process to make those investments. So given if we get those two problems solved, then we can certainly improve the efficiency of the terminal operation and start to import and export containers directly in and out of Hamilton, and take advantage of the unique timing that today gives us. The Thine and Nor mentioned it, but we're working closely with McMaster University through Fluid Intelligence to really understand what are the truck flows, particularly between Ontario and the port cities, but also Ontario and the Midwest, and start to understand what of those goods movements could be shifted onto marine and take advantage of the improved profile of marine shipments. So there's kind of three different things going on at the same time. Integration with Niagara. It's there is a hopefully with some of these short sea shipping initiatives, there is an ability to grow overall demand for marine services, and I think there's lots of people who are keen to see that happen, and so we need to build the overall capacity as well. And so that supply chain capacity or resilience is really what our main objective is in expanding into Niagara. And there could be some rebalancing of cargoes. There could be creating capacity in Hamilton by moving things to Niagara, and there certainly would be new cargo flows both in Hamilton and Niagara. So between Oshawa, Hamilton, and Niagara, it creates a real sort of golden horseshoe solution around creating improved supply chain resilience and making good investment decisions. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, and then some. I mean, I've always been a great proponent of shipping being, a very much a climate change oriented opportunity. And as we're marching, quickly down that path, and then given gas prices, there seems to be some clear and present opportunities to capitalize on the ability for shipping to offload some of the carbon emissions that we all want to reduce significantly. And so the port can be an active player, and that has been, but I think could definitely ramp it up. So what you've laid out certainly looks like you're well poised and positioned to start taking advantage of those opportunities for the greater benefit of the climate, but also obviously to continue to expand our port capacity, which is so critical to all of our communities. So I really thank you for that answer, and look forward to watching that evolve into the future.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there any further comments to this subject? Okay, can I have a motion to receive this update? Mr. Mayor, thank you. Second? Councillor Powers, thank you. Any other business at this time? Great. I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn. Oh, sorry.
Before we do that, sorry.
Yeah, before you run away, I got a couple items I wouldn't mind discussing. Councillor Partridge, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm just thinking that we should set the next meeting before we adjourn this one, just to direct clerks to perhaps in September. That would be my offering up, but I'd like to hear, here I am again, but I'd like to hear from other committee members. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Partridge. Anyone else have September as an issue?
Yeah, I think we've generally tried to do these quarterly, if I recall. Maybe not certainly not over the last few years, but I think that would be a wise choice. But I think September is a little more than that. But September makes sense to me. Having said that, a couple of other items of business. So I cannot let this meeting go by and not address the canal pier issues. We're getting calls each and every day, and I just got back from Europe, so I don't know what the current status is of the accessibility to the piers. Not your issue, but certainly something that I know the Port Authority is keenly interested in, as we are, jointly kind of working towards how do we make these piers accessible, usable, functional, and more attractive for our residents to use safely and otherwise. So is there any update as to where we're at high level? I know we're leaning on Transport Canada to open up the piers. Weather's nice. I don't think we've had any hurricanes or tornadoes come rolling through here. I don't know, we had a little blow a little while ago. So are we making any progress on that, maybe to our city manager or Ian? Are we making any progress to get accessibility to these things in the short term? And then I know that there's some work being done on the longer term going forward. So whatever you can share.
Do you want to start, Ian, from your side of things? Sorry, Jeanette Smith, City Manager through the chair. Do you want to start, and then I'll talk about next steps on the city side?
Sure, sure. So we're going through a process now where the piers would be transferred, our control of the piers would be transferred to the Hamilton-Oshawa Port Authority. And then we would go through a process of investing in them from to improve the safety profile, probably using similar sort of guidelines as you have used on Pier 8. And then what we would do is enter into an agreement with, I guess, one with the city of Hamilton and one with the city of Burlington, which would be identical to each other. And that agreement, either a license or a lease, would be for the cities of Hamilton and Burlington to take over the day-to-day operations of those piers, and then open them up to the public. So that's sort of the process, and we're making great progress. We had the ADM for Transport Canada here earlier in the week, or no, the end of last week, and he's very excited to see this move as quickly as possible. So there still needs to be the investments made to make them safe, and some sort of protocols agreed in terms of when it's best to open them, when it's best to close them, just in the interest of public safety. But the goal is being to open them as much as possible while keeping in mind public safety.
Okay, so thank you for that, and you know, I really do appreciate that the port has stepped up and taken an active interest in the future of the space, you know, for two reasons. I mean, one, obviously it's critical to shipping and navigation, but you know, it's long-standing access that's been in place, you know, unfettered for a lot of years. So there's obviously some ongoing frustration in the community as to why they can't access them now. And I assume that they're still closed officially, even though I've been able to walk around the gate, you know, quite easily. They're still officially closed.
Yeah, so they're still under the custody of Transport Canada, and Transport Canada's position is that they should remain closed.
Hmm. Which is unfortunate, but obviously that's the issue that we're going to have to deal with on the short term. So we might make an approach to ask them to relax that a little bit while we work through this process. But I'll certainly make that overture. And to City Manager Smith, obviously we've been working jointly with the Port Authority on getting these issues resolved. You know, are we setting kind of an expected timeline, or is that really in the hands of Transport Canada and how quickly they move?
Through you, Madam Chair, to the mayor and members of the committee, I think, you know, the first stage obviously is getting those responsibilities transferred to the Port Authority, but we're not waiting for that to happen. The Port Authority has a great model with the city of Oshawa on the municipality taking over the day-to-day oversight and of recreational use of the piers. So even while that process is happening between the Port Authority and Transport Canada, we already have draft agreements. We'll need to come to council to have authority to enter into that agreement. But both Burlington and ourselves have that template with Oshawa, and we're starting to work with the various parties across the city to review that agreement, et cetera, so that we're not doing it sequentially, we're doing it in parallel.
Right. So once the transfers of ownership has happened, we can kind of marshal forward quickly with investments and accessibility. Obviously, one kind of leads the other. So, okay, sounds great. Thank you for that effort. It's really important, I think, for you know, many in our community that have had access to these piers, and I think they're a great recreational asset. I think we all agree to that. And so, how to make them safe and accessible, I think, is going to be our mission, and it sounds like we're on it. And so we'll be able to share that message with the community at large. I have spoken to Councillor Collins on several occasions to encourage him to encourage Transport Canada to relax a little bit. You know, the piers have been there for 100+ years without a gate. and I don't ever remember any kind of calamity that that ever would have happened. But so I'm not sure why in the last 2 years suddenly there's an insurance risk. But in any event, that's their mantra, and they're sticking to it. But I'll continue to reach out to Chad Collins and the minister to see if they can at least provide accessibility for the summer months, which obviously is when people would love to get access to these wonderful piers. So thank you for that, and thank you for the information. And again, I look forward to continuing to work as we have done to provide the kind of safe and accessible and enhanced experience that people will have once we get these piers into the hands of the Port Authority and into the management of the city of Hamilton and Burlington. I think it's a great partnership, and all the more reason for us to continue to work together.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City Manager Smith, and thank you, Ian. Councillor Partridge, you have a question or comment?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I appreciate the mayor raising the information. Good to know that there's agreements coming forward. I'm wondering if the September agenda could include the peer access update, particularly around timing of agreements, perhaps an ECDEV and port project update similar to one we had today, and also the Lighthouse project and the lift bridge, just to have an update on that. No particular order. This is just my scrawling as I was writing down things as they came to mind. But it's excellent work all around. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Partridge. Madam Clerk, could you make a note of Councillor Partridge's request for the September meeting?
Yes, and if you'd like to vote on that staff direction, that would be wonderful. That way it gets formalized.
Okay. Can we have a vote on that then?
So we'll have a mover and a seconder first.
I'll move it.
I'll
Thank
second it.
you. Thank you, Jim. All in favor?
Carried.
Any opposed? Seeing none, carried.
Can we make Jim Howlett responsible for getting the gates unlocked, post haste?
I'll get at it tonight.
All right, thank you, Jim. I expect a full report on my desk tomorrow.
Okay, I'm on it.
Any further business today? Okay, hearing none, can I ask for a motion to adjourn, please?
Sure.
Thank you, Councillor Powers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, it was great to see everyone. Thanks for your time, and we look forward to seeing you in September.
Chair, you're
Thank
on
you, Madam Chair. Bye, everybody.
you're on a
Great
tight
summary.
ship there, Madam Chair. Well done.
Great meeting.